What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
The author of the sensational international bestseller and the most compelling non-fiction publication of all time is back in London for the first time in 25 years to celebrate Chariots of the Gods' 50th anniversary. Eric Von Däniken Legacy Night. In this 2-hour special, you are invited to share with Eric his most influential discoveries and revelations. Learn about his incredible life journey as an author and researcher. Meet the team behind the highly anticipated Chariots of the Gods 360-degree entertainment franchise. Eric Von Däniken Legacy Night, live streamed from the Princess Anne Theatre, BAFTA 195, Piccadilly, London, October 15th, 2016.
The More Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines. Available for download on all major digital platforms. The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching the UK's only alternative late night talk show, and I'm your host Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with Belinda Womack, who is a scientist by training with a dual master's degree in microbiology and environmental sciences. Now, Belinda was called into service by the 12 Archangels while in a medical lab doing stem cell research. For nearly 25 years, she has had an active spiritual counselling practice to support individuals, couples and families in solving seamlessly impossible problems. She is the creator of the 12 Archangels University and has developed an experiential and deeply spiritual online Change Your Everyday Reality to Heaven on Earth 15-module educational platform. Now she joins me today to discuss her book, Lessons from the 12 Archangels. Belinda Womack, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here, Kevin.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Now, this interview is going to be on your book, Lessons from the 12 Archangels, Divine Intervention in Daily Life. Really fascinating book. And I really would like to know a bit about yourself as well to begin with, just briefly. This is just prior to your awakening as well. I don't really want to go into that just right now. What sort of person were you prior to the awakening experience that you had?
Well, I was a cell biologist, so I was a scientist, and that's what I thought my life was always going to be about. So I wasn't exactly expecting to change careers and start working for 12 Archangels, that's for sure.
No, no, absolutely not. And was you into any sort of spirituality, any religion?
I was brought up in the Episcopal religion, but I was not practicing any religion. I've always had a love of the divine, a love of God, and a love of people. So, but definitely not practicing any kind of religious tradition.
No, no. And in your childhood, did the archangels ever come up in that side?
Well, I believed in angels as a child, and I definitely was very psychic as a child. But I pretty much shut all that down around age 11 or 12 when I decided I was going to be a biologist. And so I just shifted, hemispheres from living in my creative, spiritual, intuitive part of my brain. I said, you know what, I'm already too sensitive, so I'm just going to live over there in that logical part and see if that makes life any easier for me.
And did it?
Well, I think for a while, I think it allowed me to navigate through my teenage years, but I always remained sensitive to the feelings and the needs of other people. So that didn't change. I always was able to perceive what was going on with others, and I just thought everybody could do that. I didn't realize that that was, part of my sensitivity, that was staying awake. And
Yeah, because not everyone can do that, as you've discovered.
yeah, definitely.
Or they can, but they choose not to.
I think that that's really what it is, Kevin. I believe that we're all born intuitive. We're all born connected with each other. That's where we all come from, the universe. We all come from the same source. As a child, I needed to have that empathic sensitivity, stay open. I had a crazy childhood, and that was a skill that I needed. I needed to be able to tune into the adults and the people around me. But again, I thought that's just what everybody did, and but that doesn't seem to be the case. Definitely not in our world now. Although that's my constant prayer, that everyone will remember that we are all really sensitive children, and we all just want to be loved and taken care of. We really all ultimately desire the same thing, and that's where angels can help us in a very basic, foundational aspect of our humanity.
Absolutely, and we're going to get into the awakening experience, but let's just go beyond when the awakening experience happened. How did your peers receive you once you had the experience? Did you lose a lot of friends?
Some of my friends changed, yes, definitely, because I no longer worked in a medical laboratory setting, so that definitely changed. But over a short period of time, most people really hung in there with me. They were surprised. Wow, this is a switch for Belinda. She's going from biologist to working for the 12 Archangels, being a spiritual messenger. But what I have found, Kevin, is that when we communicate the truth, people feel that. And that's what can really resonate and can, again, hold us together. So I might have questioned my own sanity, which I did when as you call it, my awakening, I call it being drafted, happened. But once at least for me, once I realized, wow, these angels are for real, and what they say is provable to me in my scientific mind, and what they say happens, and this is grounded, and hey, I'm not crazy. This is really part of our reality all the time. And as I experienced that and was able to articulate my own experience, of course, my friends and my family they could get it, they could understand it, they could share their own experiences actually with me.
Well, that's very beautiful for yourself, and to have that sort of support. Some people don't, but that's really great that I guess you chose a life where that support was going to be there. I guess it was important for you. Is it difficult for you to trust the information coming through sometimes?
No, not at all. Because the way the information comes through me is it comes through as a vibration, and I know immediately if it's truth of the vibration of pure love or if it's off by a hair. I feel that in my body so fast that no, it's definitely I can trust it. And I tested it. I just want to make that clear. I've tested it, and I continue to test it because I've been doing this work now for 25 years.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Actually, it's a good point. You've been doing this, I thought, 20 years, almost 25 years. So you've had not only tested it, but you've had time to work with it.
Definitely. Of course, I use all of the tools from the angels in my own life, and that's what I help other people to do, is to transform their most impossible situations. That's where archangels come in, is to change the impossible.
Absolutely. And okay, then just briefly, just tell us, because obviously we're going to get into the teachings a little bit as well, and we're not going to be able to cover too much here because we've only got 51 minutes, but just briefly, what was your being drafted in, as you call it, your experience?
So I was working under a sterile hood, which just is what you do when you're working in a medical research lab, and I was working on a bone marrow sample, and I was separating lymphocytes from the bone marrow. And all of a sudden, I was no longer in the laboratory. I was in a stone room that was round, and the floor was made out of dirt. So I remember thinking, wow, this isn't going to work for sterile technique, and where am I? And there was a beautiful white gold light that came pouring into this round room, and there was the Archangel Gabriel. And it was easy to recognize the angel because the angel had a trumpet. And Gabriel spoke to me telepathically and said, we have new work for you to do. The angels are calling you. And I said, well, wait a minute. I'm a biologist. What do you want me to do? And Gabriel said, well, we need you to help human beings to remember that they are God's divine children. We need you to help them to remember their divinity and to open to receive the abundance that is their birthright. And I remember saying to the angel, look, that sounds like I need a degree in psychology, and I'm a biologist. Gabriel said, don't worry. We'll give you all the education that you need. And I said, well, what is it that I need to learn for this job? It really feels like a big job. And Gabriel said, turn to your left. And to my left, Kevin, was a huge stone table. And on that table was an enormous book that was probably 3 feet wide and a good foot to 2 feet deep. And I was like really intimidated. That's a lot of information. And immediately when I thought that thought, the book opened up, and in red, scarlet red fire letters was the word love, Love. I said, okay, I can learn how to love. And so the next thing that happened, it felt like I was away for hours. It felt like a very long time. The next thing that happened, I was back in the lab, still holding my sample. My whole body was shaking. I looked at my watch, and not 1 minute had gone by. So that's how it all began.
And you're in constant communication with them now?
Sure, I'm in that. They're my employers.
Now, obviously, I've had a lot of people come on in regards to archangels and angels in general, communicating with your angels. Is your work different in any aspects?
Well, the 12 archangels are the same angels that other people communicate with. Everyone can communicate with these angels, and they communicate with all of us. They are a group of all loving beings and forces that help to co-create this planet we're on, which they call Schoolroom Earth. And they help us to learn our lessons, which is another word for to deal with our evolution. You know, we are here to learn how to recognize fear and how to choose love and how to transform our past so that we live in the present. Because we human beings, we create with our thoughts and with our feelings. But lots of times, those thoughts and feelings live in our subconscious, and they're, 90% under the rug. So we don't realize that we are creating our reality, but we're often recreating the past. And if we can transform that, if we can change that, which is what these angels teach us how to do very easily and simply, a child can do it, or the child within us can do it, then we change not only our reality, but we help to change that reality for the world. So, do I connect or communicate with them in a different way? Likely, because each one of us, we have our own specific calling and our purpose and our work that we are here to do. But what the angels remind us is that archangels are not above human beings. They're not above other angels. They're not above the dolphins in the sea or the elephants that walk the earth. They're definitely not above human beings. They say that we are all a part of oneness and that from their perspective, there is no hierarchy. It's human beings that like to create hierarchy. We like to have the CEO and the CFO and the COO, but angels, they just want to help us. So the arc in archangel actually means that they help us to build bridges between our egos and our hearts, and between heaven and earth.
Absolutely, and I've asked this question in a different way, of course. 'Cause I'm not going to remember exactly how I asked it, but to other guests that come on with angels, and it just feels to me that there's more to the background on these angels than we're aware of. I think it seems to be a bigger purpose, or this. It seems we use the word archangels, because that's how we personify them as. You already had a sort of basis as for angels when you were younger, and when you had this experience, I'm not taking anything away from you here, but it was almost like that experience was meant to be that way because that's the way you would resonate with it most, and then you would be able to connect, and then other people, when they hear the word angels or archangels and the various 12 angels that you're working with, as you call them, your employees, they would resonate with you, so they'd, for this healing that they're going to go through with you. But really, there might be a much bigger picture to all this than what we currently understand as our framework of understanding right now, where they may not be angels, they may be something greater than that, that we all have a connection to. We just use the words angels, and they would be happy for us to use those words because they're not going to tell us what to perceive them as. That's for us to evolve to get to that point. But have you ever thought there's a bigger framework to this, and it's not what we think it is at all?
Kevin, these archangels, they really don't care what we call them. And that's why they keep their names incognito. They're the same energies as Saturn, Mercury, Neptune, Jupiter. They're the same planets that we work with in our astrology. They are the same energies that help the entire universe to resonate and sing and light up. So they have many names throughout our Earth history, throughout the history of Schoolroom Earth. They have names in the ancient Egyptian literature. So yes, of course, ultimately they're love, and they exist to help us to hold together and to evolve. That's why there's 12 of them. The number 12 it's a metaphor. It means a cycle. It means like there are 12 signs of the zodiac. There are 12 months of the year. There are 12 hours on a clock face. So their role for humanity is to help us to evolve, because we took on a very tough assignment when we agreed to come to this school. It's not an easy school, as you well know, and as I know. And so, as I call them my employers, that we serve together, it's that we human beings experience for our Creator, or our Creator experiences through us, the opposite of love, which is fear. Now, why would our Creator want to do that? Well, just like human beings, sometimes when we don't really experience the opposite of something, we don't realize the value of it. So by experiencing fear, the opposite of love, our Creator and all of oneness, all of the universe is learning, or has learned, it's all mixed in there together, that truly love is the greatest power and love is the best choice. Now, clearly here on the earth, we haven't all made that choice full time, or we so get caught up in fear. But all fear is a belief that we are separate from our Creator. And that's where angels come in, because as soon as we ask for help from angels, life starts to get better. Life changes. We start to realize, wow, we've got help. We're not all alone.
You see, I just don't know how comfortable I am with the idea of the idea of them being angels. I just think there's a bigger framework, and there's other information to come through that could be of great benefit in this bigger framework of understanding of what any other book out there is telling us. And I think we've personified it as angels, but it might be bigger than that. And maybe, do you think we're getting ready to a point where we are ready to see a bigger picture than what we've currently been told, even bigger than what your understanding is?
Well, help me to understand what you mean by bigger than an angel, because angel is just a word to identify an energy, a power.
Yeah. Exactly. So maybe we use these words, but actually it's something greater than that. And by knowing the greatness than that, looking at the higher framework or understanding, there is even more information to come through that could help us in the now. I guess what it is with my channeling as well and my book, it's really going into bigger frameworks. And I'm pretty sure there was a mention in Angels of in this book that I'm writing, and it's all. I can't remember exactly what it said. I'll have to get, because it's just being transcribed. But there was a bigger framework to it in a sense. But it's as though they're sort of with us on the lower dimensions in a sense. Obviously they're from higher dimensions, but with us on lower dimensions to help us. They're around us right now, possibly, in this invisible spectrum that we can't see in our dimension, helping out.
They're everywhere. And their role, again, and they work, this is where the English language can become so limiting, because in a sense, you and I are trying to describe something that's indescribable. These are benevolent forces. They are only benevolent. They are all loving. They are all powerful. And they want to help us to remember that that's who we are as well. And that we have the power to change our reality. We have the power to bring heaven here on earth. We have the power to transform all of our limitations and all of our suffering. We do have that power. And that's where they're teachers. That's why, their material, they say lessons from the 12 Archangels. Because as we learn, we remember how to work with the greatest power there is, which is the power of love. And so, to me, from my perspective, how that is the bigger framework. The bigger framework is that we are all God's energy, and we are energy, and we can work with this energy to transform the illusions that we get caught in. And that's where the part of me that's a scientist comes in, because it's you can prove it. And with a little use of your creative imagination, which is not that you're imagining it, it's a way to see beyond what your human eyes are used to seeing, what they're programmed to believe that they see. With a little practice, you start to see all kinds of beings. Honestly, I prefer to see the friendly ones than the non-friendly ones, but you see it all. And we're all in this reality here at this dimension where we experience fear.
Yes.
Right? But we
Yes.
transform the fear to see something better, to experience something better.
Absolutely, and we're going to get into the angels' messages as well. But obviously, you've mentioned God quite a bit here as well. What is, now you've obviously 25 years into this experience, what is your understanding of what this word God is?
God to me is source. God is the creator. God is the mother and the father that lives within us, and we live within the mother father. God is the universe. God is the great cosmos. God is divine love. God is divine oneness. God is the positive, wonderful energy that we all come from, and that connects all of us together.
Some people really hate the word God. It makes them very angry.
Right. I understand that, and whenever I work with my clients, I try to welcome them to use whatever word they want to use for source. If they prefer a different word, then that's fine. Yeah. Again, just like when I talk about the 12 Archangels, they don't want us to get hung up on the language or the names. They want us to feel the energy and to experience the results of working with the power of love. The results speak for themselves.
Yeah, love is just, it seems to be one of the major things we're here to experience in so many forms. Could your understanding of God evolve?
Could my understanding of God evolve? Perhaps you need to tell me what your understanding of God is so that I can find some common ground with you.
Well, I will. And what I mean by that question is, it's just simple. What you know now, do you think it's going to, stay the same in the next 20 years?
Well, my goodness, the universe is always evolving, and I'm part of that universe. I'm part of that learning, so everything is always changing. Yeah. I do believe that the foundational truth that we are all here to rediscover what we're made out of and what our potential is, that's probably going to stay the same.
Okay. My understanding of God is it's evolving all the time right now. And I understand it's just a word, it's dog backwards, it's just a word.
It's just a word, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. If I had to say it today, I would probably say it's a word to express the infinitiveness of where we've come from and where we're going to. And what we're all about. It's a word to express in the infinitive power that we have within. It is not to say that it is separate from us, or it probably is us, this infinitive power. We came from it and we've always been, and that's all I know today.
Well, I agree with you. Yeah.
So, okay, but obviously the angels are working with this energy, and they come from this energy.
And they are this energy.
And they are this energy. And would you say we have the power of God within us, so that therefore, we all have the power to find all the answers within by just listening to our intuitiveness and connecting with the source, God, the universe?
Absolutely. Absolutely. With that said, because we have an ego, that's part of coming to school here on planet Earth, is we human beings have an ego, which is the part of the human brain that has the ability to believe it is separate from the creator. It's separate from the infinite source or infinite possibilities and energy that you describe as God. And because that ego has the ability to believe in separateness, what can help bring that ego home, to bring it back into oneness or into alignment with the intuitive channel, is when that ego asks for help. Because asking for help has a miraculous power for us human beings, whether that's asking for help from other people or asking for help from loved ones that now live in heaven, or asking for help from angels. We connect and we realize we're not alone. And that's where, yes, of course we can connect with our own answers, but sometimes that ego needs that validation and help from the outside in to help all of that gel, to help all of that, to take away that self-doubt. Sometimes it helps when our intuition is validated for a certain amount of time until we gain that confidence, until we work those spiritual or intuitive muscles and we know that they're not going to fail us. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, you're dead right. And just to remind people, we can call ourselves very spiritual, that we understand, we have a truth, but the ego still plays a massive role to disconnect us. So we can say on one hand, what we think is sound. It all sounds very good and on the outside, but there can be massive ego there blocking us from even listening to it as an intuitive message for ourselves.
Well, sure. If we are in that place that we think we have to know everything and that we have to be perfect, because that's sometimes what the ego loves to. It's what we were created to redirect, is the hindrances of ego. This is what Buddha teaches us, that controlling mind, the judging mind, the comparing mind, the doubting mind. And so when we get stuck in any of those, that's when we can really do ourselves in. And so it helps when we remember the power also of wonderful humility, and that it's totally wonderful to ask for help, and that we don't need to know anything. We can actually know nothing, and then what we need to know either comes to us from within or it'll show up in our reality.
With patience.
Yes. Patience is a virtue, right?
Yeah, right, yeah, absolutely. One thing that I'm, 37, and I'm still no good at, but I'm trying. Okay, and these angels, and this is just the word we're using right now. We've covered this. That it's just what works in this interview to use. You can use another word, and that's all good. They are probably throughout the universe, aren't they?
Oh, of course. They are sound and light. They are made of love. Yeah. The trees have an angelic vibration. Animals have an angelic vibration. There's a nature angel that holds our own molecules together. So angelic energy is musical. So whenever we need to have more help, it's like raising the volume on our favorite music. That's the way that angels work. It's like raising the volume, and then we just have more love pouring in and more help. And so when you think about, okay, well, how do angels help us? They actually, empower us to open up to receive from our own higher self. So from our own solar energy connected back to the central sun, or the soul that holds us all together. So, and they're pretty powerful orchestrators with our higher self to help things to be synchronicitous, for us to be at the right place at the right time. That's also how they can help us.
And how powerful is connecting to our oversoul, our higher self?
Well, that's when we can transform anything, right? That's when we can step into that all-powerful oneness, and when we can see, oh, this is illusion, this is temporary, I can see through this and I can understand it. It's a dream that I'm having that I can actually morph into something better for myself and for all concerned. It does take patience, as you've validated there. It does take patience, because
yes,
it's about
it
all
does.
of us, right? There's the communal dream or reality, and sometimes our individual dreams are so far ahead of the collective that it takes patience, as I can clearly tell that my friend Kevin is born ahead of his time. It's pretty obvious. Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I was just going to lead on to something there, but I'll just go back to something as well. Fear. We mentioned fear as well. I don't think we sort of finished off on this. Fear. It is what we're here. One of the things we're here to learn as well, not to run away from. What do the archangels say about fear?
Well, fear is our greatest teacher. Fear is illusion. Fear is the illusion that we have been abandoned by our Creator, and that we're powerless and that we're helpless. So what they teach us to do is to work with the batteries of spiritual energy called chakras that we all have, and just to work with those colors. Because as we do that, as we work with those colors through our creative imagination, we begin to tap into our own power, and we begin to experience miracles of remarkable transformation. So, for example, the color violet, that energy is in our crown chakra. It's there all the time, and it transforms fear into love. So we can do simple things like, just imagine we have a purple hat on our heads, and all of a sudden when you do that and you take a deep breath, you can't have fear in your mind. You cannot hold fear in your mind, in your consciousness, while you have love in there at the same time.
What do they call fear? It's false evidence appearing real.
Fear, it's illusion. It's illusion, but it's so convincing, right? Because from fear, what are fear's children? Lack, suffering, violence, guilt, resentment, anxiety. I could go on and on, right?
Well, absolutely, yeah. No. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. You know, one thing that I find a lot of us are guilty of as well. Not guilty of, because that's a hard word, but we carry this with us. A lot of head noise. So much head noise, you know, throughout the day. I wonder, I mean, I can be honest about my head noise in the sense, you know, I'll be walking down the road, I've got this to do, or that's a problem, how am I going to get around that issue? Oh my God, there's that issue as well. Is this ever going to... Head noise. What's the angels, what advice would they give to get rid of head noise?
So it's very simple. First of all, you take some deep breaths. Second, you can easily imagine that you are walking under a violet or purple rain shower. And as you focus on that color purple or the violet, they say it doesn't matter, they're not picky. Violet, purple, lavender, all of those shades will work. That energy transforms the noise, the chatter in your head so that you can focus. That definitely helps to take a deep breath. Another thing that you can do, any of us, is it's a mixture of a little bit of a technique from the angels and a little bit of mindfulness. And that is that you just see those busy thoughts in there that are pulling you into the future and pulling you into the what ifs. And you ask them to pack their bags, and you ask them to escort out of your head and take a ride on the violet fire train and go back to the central sun. And just having that intention, even if you can't see it, immediately your mind is going to start to center, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm here. And then a really quick technique is you just start to chant a simple little mantra in your head, I surrender. Just saying those words, I surrender, it just grounds us, brings us to the present very fast.
Because you can only do your best, can't you, most times, and otherwise it just becomes a bit ridiculous to yourself, doesn't it? It becomes a bit self-destructive, doesn't it, when it's like that sometimes?
Well, sure, but Kevin, it's also important to remember that we are all one. We are all connected to each other, and you happen to be a very telepathic individual, whether you're aware of that or not. And so when we're telepathic, not only can we sense maybe what's going on with other people, but they have a lot of noise in their subconscious that is just kind of emanating, and we feel all that. So next time when you have a lot of chatter in your head, one thing to do is ask, hey, is this mine? Or can I just let it all go? And you can just imagine a beautiful violet fire tidal wave, an ocean wave that just flows right through your head, and watch how that can clear your mind and shift your mood. Because again, when you are resonating at a higher vibration, which just means you like to live in love more than you want to live in fear, we become a negative energy magnet. That's just simple metaphysics, right? If metaphysics works like physics, if you have cold in a room, the heat is going to move to the cold. If you have clear energy in a room, the negative energy is going to move towards that so that it can be transformed and neutralized. So it's important to remember that sometimes we all just need to take a jump in the violet fire lake, because again, that energy of our crown chakras, God gave it to us, or the source, the universe, whatever your word is for the creator, has blessed us with all of these powers to move us out of fear back into the vibration of love instantly. And love is the power that we can manifest with, that we can really manifest those hopes and dreams of a better life today versus what we experienced yesterday. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, absolutely. And I think one of the lessons, or the messages, shall I say, maybe messages is a better word, of the angels, is the raising of our vibration. Am I right to say that's one of the messages?
Well, sure, of our thoughts and of our feelings, because we are always co-creating. We are always manifesting. So if we're manifesting working with the vibration of love, then we're going to manifest happiness and abundance and prosperity and better health and loving relationships, all those things that most of us really love and appreciate. Versus when we're in a place of anxiety and fear, and what if the worst happens to us? We have a lot of protection around us so that we don't constantly create the worst that can happen to us. Yet, wow, do we really make our lives miserable from that place. And we can manifest illness. We really can, pretty swiftly when we're just so sunk down in fear.
And actually, I was going to ask you about forgiveness. I really want to get into that as well. But just staying on that thread that we're just talking about there, about raising the vibration, what about those suffering in other countries? Is our effects of what we do rippling out, basically, to those around the world?
Well, we're all connected. So if we want to help the people on our planet that are suffering, then what we can do is we can actually look for those people within us. And we can do that simply by asking to see where there's discordant or unhappy energy within us, or vibration or fear, and we can fill that with divine love. One of my just favorite simple imageries to do that the angels give us is just to stand under a waterfall of divine love. Whatever rainbow color you want to pick. It can be, emerald green or gold white or violet. All the colors work. They all come from divine love. And just to say thank you, thank you, thank you. My creator, the universe, for filling every cell of me, every molecule, every atom, every space between my atoms with pure unconditional love and gratitude. And let this love find the places where love is missing. And that really does help all the people on the planet, because we are so connected. And then, of course, through our meditation, we can send those areas of the world love, and we can visualize. It's so powerful. We can visualize those human beings being filled with love and being provided for with all the safety and help that they need.
Do you think that's doing enough, though? Because obviously those like Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, they were actual doers. They actually went out physically and made a change. They went out to the world. How can you? Does the two justify at all? The two compare? With actual doing something.
Well, Kevin, your show is working to raise consciousness, and for my work, I work with individuals of all walks of life, and that's the way that I can help humanity. For me personally, I'm such an empathic sponge that I wouldn't survive going to a third world country, because I would just be flat out, and that doesn't help anyone. But what I can do is take full responsibility for my own thoughts and my own feelings, and make sure I hold myself at that vibration of love, and from that place send love out to wherever in the world it's called to go.
Absolutely, and I suppose everyone's got a different calling, haven't they? In the future I might set up a spiritual news network, and that'll be my way of giving back on a bigger scale. But it doesn't always, sometimes we're not destined to do these bigger things. I do get that. I feel for me to do these bigger things, there is a loss of something else sometimes. There just is. I don't care what anyone says.
Sure, it's a choice.
Yeah, it is. And some people, they wouldn't want to walk the path I'm going to walk down, which is probably being on my own for a bit, and having to give up other things to make that choice of leaving the world in a better place for me than once I came in. And if that's the platform, then that's it. But for others, being a mother is a great thing. It's needed. Yeah, it's what they're supposed to be doing. But we can't judge someone that's not going, that's not maybe making a difference as we see it. I think what you're saying as well, what we haven't said, is that changing our life ripples to those around us, which hopefully ripples further.
Absolutely, because we are all connected. So those of us who are willing to truly take responsibility for our own thoughts and our own feelings and our own subconscious, and to transform that, we definitely help the rest of humanity, because we're all connected.
But it's funny, I see a lot of lives around me just full of absolute pain in their own ways. Pains of people cheating on each other, pains of abusive behavior sometimes, pains of a lot of things. So I see the world in a different place just recently, and that's through doing these interview shows. Really, just realizing that you just can't compare. There's a lot of crap going on out there, and people throughout their lifetime may never want to change. They may be quite happy where they are.
And that is such an important point, Kevin, because some people choose to be in their suffering. You can bring any person into to my help, or there's plenty of other spiritual healers and coaches out there. No matter what their situation is, if they're willing to transform their belief systems that are creating their reality, their life is going to improve at the speed of light and sound. But some people, they just can't let go of that victim consciousness, and that's okay. That's where they're at. And just like some people really can't give up their addictions because that's their anesthetic for their lives. And that's, again, the wonderful, wonderful gift of angelic beings, is there is absolutely no judgment. But they do say, if you've got the courage to be a shaman, to love transformation, we thank you. We thank you for that help, because that transformation work, it helps all of those that really don't have the strength to do it, because we are all connected. We truly are all one family.
Yes, absolutely. And you can't judge. You just cannot judge. I mean, you can't even judge a prostitute, who may be heavily addicted to drugs and hence is doing the work. You can't judge. You don't know what that soul's come here to learn, whether it's gone off course or not. It may not. It may be wonderfully doing its life work. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. But there is that pattern, where they, as you really said it really well there, the amnesia, the self-amnesia, where they just can't break free. But who knows? It's a choice, isn't it? But then, are they living their purpose? Probably. And could they break free and do something different? Well, of course. But you just can't judge. Nor the tramp on the street, as you may call it. You can't judge. That may be a highly evolved spiritual being coming to experience, something a very different type of experience.
Well, and to work as a mirror for other people who need to look within and see the miserable, homeless person that actually lives within their own subconscious that is driving their misery, but they're and again, this is not judgment, but they're taking tranquilizers so they don't have to feel that. So, but here is their homeless self out on the street as a mirror. We are also all mirrors of each other.
Absolutely. I think, life can definitely test us, though, in so many different ways. It could be we are tested because the partner we're with is suffering from mental health issues, and we can't break free of them because we love them and we want to look after them, because that wasn't the person they were when someone married them. And there may be some sort of soul contract being worked out where whatever's being worked out, but it's not easy. What I'm saying is, sometimes the oddest relationships, or what we term as strange, there's some very deep things going on. So we're not here to save everyone. People have got to take self-responsibility to do it themselves. That's what I'm saying, I'm guessing.
Absolutely, they do have to have that desire, even a little bit of desire, to live a happier life, to let a bit more joy in. And then it's amazing what can be changed. Truly, everything can. Have And forgiveness, that's an important one, because I think we all have had times in our life where we could have forgiven someone what we chose not to, or we have. And we all brush against people which may be our greatest asset, in a sense, in this world, to have an experience of what it is to forgive someone else. So our greatest our greatest enemies on the spirit plane are our best friends. Well, forgiveness is a power that sometimes we don't understand. It's a power. It's a power that is the quality of love, the vibration of love that sets us free. So when we work with violet fire, that energy of our crown chakra that transforms fear into love, it's also the same energy of forgiveness. So forgiveness transforms. Forgiveness changes our DNA. Forgiveness sets us free. And we can actually work with forgiveness as a power. We can call on our higher self and say, you know what, higher self, can you fill my entire past, not just this lifetime, but every lifetime, with forgiveness? Can you fill me and my whole reality with the power of forgiveness, and let that forgiveness reach the places where I have not been able to forgive? And then, wow, what an amazing transformation that then plays out for the rest of our lives. That's the power of forgiveness.
Absolutely, but how do we move past that point where someone's saying it's all your fault, it's your fault, and you know that perhaps it's not so much my fault, yeah? But you know, they're completely blaming you for a situation that's out of your control, and you feel in a sense that, you know, well, I'll have to forgive them.
Right.
But even though I don't know what I'm forgiving for, I guess it's just to make the peace. There's all sorts of, you know, some people don't want to forgive.
Absolutely, you're right. Some people don't want to forgive. However, forgiveness is the greatest power of transformation. So it works like this. If we want to receive more abundance, if we want to have better health, if we want to have all those things that the angels describe as heaven on earth, heaven is a vibration of pure love, then we must let in forgiveness, because forgiveness sets us free. It raises the vibration of the subconscious, those parts of the subconscious beliefs that hold us down, that weigh us down in fear, Kevin. So if we want to be lifted up, if we want to be resurrected so we can ascend out of our misery, we must let forgiveness flow in. But again, if we allow it to come in as an energy, and we move that ego gently aside and say it doesn't matter. If the other person is blaming us, it's because they're just too insecure to accept responsibility for their own creation. So let's just put it all in forgiveness anyway. Let's just forgive it all.
And I think sometimes as we get older, as you know, as we all will, you know, the flesh, with the soul will definitely outlive the flesh. But as we get older, we think differently. We can become more sensitive. You know, we don't approach things as we may see it now as very logical, because we've got a bit older and maybe we're not thinking the same way as we used to do before. In a sense, I'm not saying we don't think straight, but you know, it's not. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot at play sometimes. There's not just the soul, but there's the mind that has an effect as well.
Well, of course, it's not just black and white. It's many, many colors in there, where we can bring in some more oxygen and some more space, and to allow for healing and a different and broader perspective. Perspective is everything. You know, when we change our perspective, we can also change our reality, because our perspective can help us to let go of those old limiting beliefs, those old paradigms that say, I have to be right all the time, for example. And then when we evolve beyond that place that we believe we have to be right all the time, how wonderful that we just get to be our authentic selves. We don't have to be right. We just need to be wonderful, because we are.
Well, no, that's true, because what you're saying is embrace your shadow side.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay to feel bad, you know, to feel down. It's okay to be depressed. It's okay to, you know, have anger at someone, but it's you know, how are then you going to turn that round? Because that's what you're trying to heal it. How are you going to heal it to turn it around to be a bit more loving, so that you come from a different space?
And so you feel better.
Absolutely. Now, I did print out a number of pages to do with the angel messages, but only one page printed out, which was fantastic. So you just can't get the staff. That's what the problem is. Yeah, there's many messages, that are in the book as well, which the angels give. And there's so many questions I suppose I still have for you in a sense. One thing you talk about in your work is yes, you call this schoolroom Earth, but you also state, I think, that it's a playground for God's children.
Well, we are all God's children. So again, whether you want to say we're all children of the universe or we're all children of the Creator, the child is symbolic of the innocent, pure, wholehearted part of us that believes in magic and can believe that we deserve, even if we haven't received it yet, we deserve that success, even if we're 95 and we haven't experienced it yet. That child within us says, but that can happen today.
Yes, and this sort of comes full circle to the work that you offer as well, the consultations that you offer. Now, we've been putting your book up on the screen, but just for those, that maybe listen to this on a podcast, what is your website?
My website is www.belindawomack.com, just my name.
Okay, and they can order the book from Amazon or yourself or both?
They can get it from Amazon, they can get it from a number of booksellers, they can definitely get it from my website if they would like a channeled message from the 12 Archangels. That's...
Now, yes, because you've been doing this for a number of years, and you've helped a lot of people probably answer some very profound questions and deep personal journeys as well. How can people get in contact with you for a reading, and what's the process?
They just need to contact me through my website. That's the fastest way to do it. And from there, they just schedule a session with me. It helps if you provide me with the date, time, and place of your birth, because I love to use some natal astrology in my sessions to help me tune in faster, because the 12 archangels show up in the planets as well. So I'm not an astrologer. It just helps me to uncover the secrets and the locked up places that are holding an individual back in the past, keeping them stuck in the past, instead of where they want to be right now.
Absolutely, and this can be for international. This can be via Skype as well.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? All the technology.
That's right. So, it makes it very helpful.
Oh, it's amazing. It really just brings an international clientele to yourself. It's wonderful. And finally, what would you? Oh, okay. Actually, one other question. Do you see another book coming your way?
Oh, from that I'm working on? Oh, yes. I'm working on a new book that is called, right now, it's called The Language of Reality. And it's about understanding that we are creating our lives all the time, and that our external, what's happening in our lives, can actually work in a reverse mirror to tell us what's going on with our subconscious. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Oh, well, my intuition was right there. That's great. Okay. Well, what is the most important message to the audience right now, would you say?
Everything can change. We do have the power. The power is love. So don't give up. Don't give up. It may not happen as quickly as we want it to happen. That's where the patience comes in, because lots of times there are millennia stored within us that those belief systems need to be edited so that all of us move forward. Sometimes we take individual steps forward, Kevin, as you know, and sometimes we take a step forward as the corporal human being all together now.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That's beautiful. Well, Belinda Womack, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.